This roundtable is titled Journalism Under Occupation, Violence Against People and the Narrative. And you can suppose about the topics we're going to discuss. We're going to discuss the fate and the situation of journalism and journalists, both in Gaza and the West Bank. And we'll also discuss how the Western media is portraying the reality in Palestine, accountability for media and for Israel, and all sorts of related questions. I have the honor of moderating this roundtable. On my right, we have a colleague from Croatia, Maja Sever, from the Croatian public broadcaster. She is the president of European Federation of Journalists. On my right, a colleague from Jenin who works in Ramallah, Mr. Naser Abu Bakr. He's also the president of the Palestinian Journalist Syndicate. He works for Palestine TV. On my left is Boštjan Videnšek from Delo, and on my further to my left is Ervin Hladnik-Milhrčić from Dnevnik. No need to further present those two journalists. I think you're all very familiar with their work. I'll start with you, Mr. Abu Bakr. The Palestinian Journalist Syndicate has obviously many members in Gaza also. And we here all follow the general situation there, but could you explain, maybe just to start with, to set the tone for the debate, could you explain what the journalists specifically there are facing, not only in terms of the danger to their lives, but also just logistically, and what other challenges they have?
Thank you, Maris, and I'm very proud to be here in Slovenia. I will talk from my heart to your hearts. I'm feeling that came from my homeland, my first homeland, to the second homeland here in Slovenia, because I'm following all the time your activities and your solidarity and your strategy position with Palestine issue and with Palestinian rights. And I know you are suffering before as like us, so that you are feeling the same feeling we are suffering from it. I will give you some explaining some situation that Palestinian journalists lived in Gaza. We have a Palestinian Journalist Syndicate is established before 101 year, 1924. It is the first syndicate in all the Arab world. And also we have now more than 4,000 members in the syndicate, 1,600 in Gaza. So far they are killed 250. It's around 18% from the total number of the Palestinian journalists in Gaza. It is the biggest crime, war crime in all over the world against journalists. It is genocide. It is media side against Palestinian journalists. They also arrested 200, killed, injured 400, and demolished all the houses of Palestinian journalists, 100%. 1,600 houses, it's completely demolished for our colleagues. And the outlets also, all of it, it's demolished completely, 120. Yesterday, they demolished 12 in Al-Ghafari Tower. They shot him by rockets, by rockets, and demolished 12 outlets, offices in Gaza. This is the last outlets, offices in Gaza. Why they are systematic targeting for Palestinian media and Palestinian journalists? They want to kill the witnesses, the journalists. They want to implement the genocide against Palestinian people in the dark without any coverage, so that they consider the Palestinian journalists their first enemy, whom show the people in all over the world the Israeli war crimes, the Israeli genocide against Palestinian people. we are, I will explain also how Palestinian journalists work. They are work under the airstrikes, under the rockets, between the bullets, the tanks, the Israeli military tanks, and also between the demolishing houses, without food, without water, in starvation, and also they are human. They have families, and many of them, they lost some from their families. We documented 650 persons from the families of the journalists have been killed from the Israeli army. It is punishment for the Palestinian journalists when they kill their families. To try to pressure them must be stopped. It is threatened for them to stop the coverage of the genocide in Gaza. But our colleagues in Gaza, they determined to continue with the coverage under the fire, without food, but it is wholly professionalism for them to continue with the coverage to show the international society, all the world, what Israeli genocide do implements in Gaza. I will give you about the situation in West Bank and East Jerusalem. We documented in 1 year only, from the beginning of, from 7th of October till the 7th of October 24, we documented 1,641 attacks against Palestinian journalists in West Bank. Now, West Bank, it's very big compared to Gaza. My colleague, he was in West Bank, and he stayed there 3 years, and he knows very well West Bank. There is 920 checkpoints cross all the roads between West Bank, close all the cities, close all the refugee camps, close all the towns of West Bank. There is no freedom movement for Palestinian journalists, and also they attack us, and there is another more danger attacks from the settlers who cross the roads and forbidding anyone to move from area to area. For example, I am from Jenin, it is in south of West Bank. I lived in Ramallah, it is 90 kilometers only. It took from me, under the threat, under the danger, it took from me 8 hours to arrive Jenin, 90 kilometers. You can imagine this huge situation, a huge dangerous situation we are lived in. So this is our situation. I would like to explain more if you want, if there is any questions, but I give you similar about the situation we are living in it as Palestinian journalists, and also what is the Israeli occupation implements genocide and side media against Palestinian journalists. Thank you, my colleague.
You can give the mic to. I'd like to ask the next question, Maya Sever. Could any of this have been prevented or minimized in any way? You had the European Federation of Journalists, which is the European branch of the IFJ, the International Federation of Journalists. The IFJ has in April 2022, if I'm not mistaken, along with Palestinian Journalists Syndicate, filed an official complaint to the International Criminal Court regarding the systematic attacks by Israel against journalists working in Palestine, both in Gaza and the West Bank. It's been 3.5 years now. What can you say about the response of the ICC?
No response. Now, one thing what I really can say, and it's really frustrated me, it's that sometimes and somehow I think that all the time we are writing something, some complaints, alerts, some announcements, mostly with no response, mostly with no any reaction. I don't know how many times we wrote to Kaja Kallas, European institutions, authorities at national level, and nothing. And that's one thing which I think should frustrate all of us. We live in society who just turned ahead of situation and tragedy in Palestine. Once, when one European newsletter invited me to write an article about my point of view, personal, from Croatian perspective and European Federation perspective, as I am a journalist also, I know that I should start with one person, with a name and a surname. And previously in Croatia we prepared some exhibition with drones of pictures of a Palestinian journalist, and I choose one female journalist from this. I think it was 64 journalists. It was in the beginning. I cooperate with Naser, that's why I always ask him to approve. And I tried to write about Heba, young female journalist, and I tried to find information about her in English. There were no, except one sentence, that she worked for local TV and that she was killed with her daughter in airstrike. And then I translated with Google on Arabic, and then I find about Heba that she was not just a journalist, but she was someone who worked with the young journalists, with one young female journalist and young female students to empower them, to find a way, to work, to be strong. And then I sent to Naser this article, and he just responded to me, yes, and still we didn't find her body under and I was like so shocked. And that's about what we did and we could do. It's like no one, sorry, sometimes I felt no one cares. On European level, it was so hard, like 6 months ago, to talk about situation there. Unfortunately now, situation is so tragic that at least finally we can talk about it. Still in my country, you know, like when we published our action exhibition with pictures who was drawn by a Croatian artist of a Palestinian journalist, like no one from mainstream media shared. Afterward, we find a way to cross this bridge. But it was so, and when we talk about responses, about responsibilities, it's, I think that it's a story about humanity. Now it's a little bit different situation, but now this morning when I spoke with Naser about situation now there, you told me one word like, it's over, it's tragic there, and now we talk about Palestine and recognizing Palestine on European level, but you said that we sent it like 3 years ago. Not just that, we wrote to Kaja Kallas, we wrote to all levels on European institutions, mostly no response, no any action, and unfortunately we are today where we are.
We'll obviously come to the response of European colleagues to what's happening in Palestine, not only European journalists, but also European states. But specifically about these legal international institutions, we're talking now about the ICC. The Reporters Without Borders also filed various complaints for war crimes against journalists in Gaza. Now the ICC is an extremely reluctant or slow institution when it comes to Palestine. Nevertheless, could a more prompt reaction, an official investigation, or even prosecution of Israeli officials have had any effect on the situation of journalists today?
I think it could. I don't know if you, Naser, agree with me, but I think that, but now it's too late for it. Do you want to add?
Yes. We have 3 complaints against Israel in the ICC, but it is from long time. I met with Mr. Karim Khan, a prosecutor. He said, I am under a threat, but you are representative the justice in all over the world. This is your duty, and you must be implements the principle of the justice in all over the world. You must be implements the mandate you took from United Nations as international court. But now we are feeling it's smoothly go on, but without results. We will enter the 3rd year next 2 weeks, 7th of October of 2025. It will be enter the 3rd year of the war, and it's not happened before. So that we are thinking about another barrel now. We are thinking about the barrel of to go to the national courts in the European countries, in Western, in any country, their constitutions allow for us to make a complaint against the occupation, against specific names. Prime Minister Netanyahu, he is the leader of the genocide, and his defense minister, the leader of the army, and the responsibles of flies, tanks, all these names whom implements the genocide, we will go directly to the national courts. And also if there is some soldiers whom has the double nationality, as from France and from Israel, we can go to the court in France, for example. And I talk with the president of EFJ. We must go to the European Justice Court. It is very important because their decisions, the decision of this court, it is implements in 27 countries, and they are accountable, but in their consideration, it is very important. If we successful together to go to these courts, like here in Slovenia, in Spain, in France already we went last week, but we will continue everywhere we can in legal way, belong for the international law. And in between the international law, Israel demolish it, and US also support them to demolish the international law, because they are support them to continue with their genocide, and they are providing them with everything, military and weapons. And I'm asking myself sometimes, where is the principle of the human rights? You are learn us as Western, you must be respect the human rights. But I saw now whom against the human rights here in Western, not in Slovenia, I mean in USA, first of all, and whom silent against these genocide. It's the first war live. All the people can follow this war live, follow the genocide live. It is the first time in all over the world the people can show the genocide live, and no one talking. They are silent. We respect so far we are respect the human rights, and must be implements the human rights, and must be implements the freedom of expression, freedom of media. But whom attack it and demolish it, it is Israel and USA, and whom with the alliance with them. So that we are feeling the coverage of the war from the Western media. It is shamey. It is shamey. Really, it's shamey. They forbidden any reporter to coverage the reality, and some of them they send their journalists, the reporter, with the Israeli tanks to coverage the war. It's a shame also to send them to be in the Israeli tanks or the flights to take pictures and videos about the genocide with the Israeli army, with the crimer. Those journalists, I'm asking myself, and I'm asking you, and you, each single one can ask himself, it's happened before? This is what we are learning about the freedom of expression, freedom of media, human rights. We have the right to ask the international society must be change their positions, must be respect the human rights, and must be implement that satisfy that Palestinian people whom under the occupation from 77 years, daily killing. We are under the killing daily, hour by hour. We are under the killing, and no one moving. When we go to the United Nations, UN Security Council, USA make veto against any resolution to take our independence, to take our freedom as a human. We are a human like you. Half Palestinian people also Christians, not all of them Muslims. And we, our prophet from Palestine. And we are a human like you. I'm talking with you as a human, as a friend, about those, not about you. Excuse me. Thank you.
Now, I have a question for you and for Erwin and Boštjan. Journalists in Gaza have said, even prior to this genocide, that Israel conducted surveillance of journalists in Gaza in order to get to activists or to get to members of the resistance. What is the situation in the West Bank in that regard? Do you feel under constant Israeli surveillance?
The occupation, they are occupation. Now, why they are these genocide against Palestinian people? I think this radical government, Netanyahu and his group, they want not only to kill the Palestinian how much they can, they want to expel them outside of Gaza. And the next step, they are planning the same thing. They don't want any Palestinian people to live in Palestine. They consider it is their opportunity, and there is mandate from crazy Trump that this is opportunity for them to finish any Palestinian from Palestine, to expel all of the Palestinians outside Palestine. And there is whom read the book of Netanyahu, Men Under the Sun names, he knows that there is a project for him to expel all Palestinian people outside of Palestine. This war, he considered it is his opportunity to implement his dream.
When you work in the West Bank, when you go around, does the military always surveil your work, your communications, you physically?
Yes, I work from Hebron in the south to in the north to Jenin in the south. I move in all West Bank, and I also to the Jordan Valley. Now the Israeli army using too much the settlers everywhere to cutting the road, and the settlers. They are militia, military militia, not militia. The security minister gave them 500,000 weapons in West Bank. You can image 500,000 weapons. They announced, not me. He announced, the minister himself. He announced that I am distributed 500,000 weapons in West Bank for the settlers to cut the roads, to attack the houses, to firing the houses. Daily they are attack the small, the entrances of the cities, the small villages, and when we cover the situation in West Bank, I told you there isn't freedom of movement. We are suffering, and now any journalist, for me, example, I am the president of Palestinian journalists. I released the stickers of a press in my car because it's mean if you put stickers that you are press. We were using it, and it is international signal. I release it because I am target for them, not Naser. Each single one, any journalist, and if they found in your car cameras or any equipments belong for journalism, they will broken your car and stop you and hit you. It is a terrible situation. And who escaped, for example, before few days, Isam al-Rimawi, he was coverage the attacks of the settlers, and he went to his car. He's finished in village near Ramallah named Al-Mghayr. Many tens settlers attack him. He was in critical situation. He close to died because they opened his head and they let him because they thought that he is died. Some people come to save him. They found him. He's still alive, but he's in critical situation. This is example. How is the situation for me when I go to Jenin, 8 hours, because I changed and moved the road and go to the mountains because I couldn't cross the checkpoint, or I am afraid if there is settlers stop in the street, close it, because I know if I close to go to them, they maybe killed me, they maybe injured me, they maybe broken me, broken the car for sure. This is the situation of the journalist. When I talking about they are killed 18% in Gaza and 1,641 attacks in West Bank in 1 year, it's meaning 1,600 during 365 days, each single day in West Bank, 5 or 3 or 4 at least attacks against the journalists in the West Bank. Any journalist move and knows that he is journalist, he's straight away he is target for Israeli army. I am work in journalist from 32 years. But never I saw these terrible situation. I know I have bullet here in my leg in 2000, but I was coverage, but I can move and sometimes. Now it is very terrible situation. I never seen it during these 32 years. Daily, now morning, I heard the last news. Our colleague named Dalal al-Maghrabi from Gaza, she is killed now. And they killed, by the way, 32 female journalists. Yesterday it was 31, today it's became 32 female journalists. Most of them, they're targeting them in their houses, and they know that they are journalists. And they announce, we are targeting the houses by Google system, so that they know that they are killing the journalists. And those 252 journalists and others whom injured, they are not numbers, not figures. They are human. They are our friends, our brothers, our sisters, our dears, and they have a lot of memory, and they have all life, they are families, so that when I'm thinking as responsible, it is very, very heavy responsibility for me and for my colleagues in the board of the syndicate. Whom will provide them money, food, the families? At least each single journalist, he has family. And how they can live in very bad situation, without houses, without food, in starvation, under the fire. Those also victims, the children and the sons and the daughters of the journalists, they are victims. Naserja Abu Bakra, the cameraman of Al Jazeera, he was my friend. They killed him for he was with Wael Abu Dahduh. Night before, he was open the video with me. He told me, I'm very happy. Next week I will have evacuated to Brussels, my family there. Second day, they killed him. And he was very, very happy, and he's joking with me. I'm very happy. And they are human. They have families. Hassan al-Dahduh, they killed him in his tent before 2 weeks. If you remember, they attacked Naser Hospital in Khan Yunis, and they killed 5 journalists, including Maryam Abu Bakra. She is female journalist. She was work with the Associated Press. He called me Hassan. He's a prof in the university, and he's worked with the Al Hayya newspaper in Palestine. He told me, now they are killed our colleagues in the Naser Hospital. And he went to his tent. He stopped in the entrance of the tent. 2 hours later, they killed him. This is our situation. All our colleagues, I know very well from them, and they told me, and they told our all our colleagues, we know very well they will kill us, but we don't know at what time we will die, at what time will kill us. But we are determined to continue our coverage. They will not stop us.
Thank you. Erwin Boštjan, could you continue? What were some of your experiences working in the occupied territories? What is journalism like for you under occupation?
Welcome. I was listening to you, and a question came to my mind. A very simple one. Why would the Israelis kill journalists on purpose, select them and shoot them, no questions asked? I mean, it's evident that they do it, but what's the logic behind it? You know, the military, they usually operate in a logical way. They choose their targets according to the importance. Why would Palestinian journalists be so important that summary execution is the answer? And you know, my experience covering the West Bank and Gaza was that we journalists, journalists are we're not a pleasant company. You know, we're not exactly nice people, but usually they don't shoot us. If they even the Israeli soldiers during the second Debata, if they shot at the journalist, it was by mistake. It wasn't really intentional. You know, we are not targets. Our sources might be targets. It's not usual that journalists would be direct targets in any war. I mean, you know, now, according to semi-official statistics, very reliable, the number of Palestinian journalists killed in Gaza in the last 2 years, it's more than World War I, World War II, Vietnam, Afghanistan, Iraq, all the wars combined together in 3 years. I mean, in Ukraine, from 92 till today, 18 journalists were shot.
During 5 years or 3 years.
Yeah, sure. Okay. So, and I was asking, why? Why would? And my answer is, I have one answer, and then I would like to check with you. The way the system of reporting from Israel, West Bank, and Gaza works is that you have correspondents from major media, also from small ones, who come from, I came from Slovenia, not speaking two languages of the country I was covering, and relying on English and French and whatever Christian languages they were prepared to speak. But it took me years to be able to say أنا كنت ساكن في القاهرة سنة واحد سنة ثلاثة في القدس. I mean, sort of you have to learn the territory. Meanwhile, you rely on local Palestinian journalists to explain the situation. And the Palestinian journalists are important to the news industry of the whole world because they are the only absolutely reliable sources about the situation on the ground. You know, the people like Wael Daghdouh, Adil Zanoun, Hisham Abdallah, you know, whatever they say, it's true, it's verified, they don't invent stories, and this is true for the large majority of the Palestinian journalists. They are damn good journalists, and some of them are just fantastic. So what we know about Gaza these days especially, but also about the West Bank, and a lot of times about Israel, is the product of hard work of hundreds of Palestinian journalists that most of the time are signed with AFP, Reuters, whatever. Al Jazeera always signs the whatever news is with the names of the, at least of the bureau chief in whatever they have the bureau. But most of the news that we read, that we see, is written by Palestinian writers, shot by Palestinian photographers, or by Palestinian cameramen, and most of the sources that we quote are the sources of local Palestinian journalists. Without them, there is no reporting of what goes on in the West Bank and Gaza. And this is the answer I can come up with why you are targets.
Thank you, and thank you for your explanation about my colleague. I am proud of my colleague that they are top professional, and you know some of them, and you know them, and they are using the international standard of media. Now, why it is very important? Israeli occupation and Zionist also in all over the world, all the time, they were intervention in all the international media, and they have power in the international media. To be honest, 100 years they have power in the international media, and they can do what they want from the international media. After 2000, when I back to the memory, from 48 till 2000, they killed like 120 or 130. Well, it is little number during this long time. But after 2000, the development of media and the using of development of media in Palestine for the journalists, the young journalists, they using it in very professional way, and Israel knows that. So that I note from 2000 till 7th of October, Israel killed 56 journalists. It began the systematic killing for journalists from that time. When I say that 56 journalists killed during 23 years, it means yearly killed more than 2 journalists. Three from them, by the way, they are from Europe. One, Raffaele Cerello from Italy. James Miller, he killed, Raffaele killed in Ramallah. Maybe you were there in 2000, 2002. And James Miller, they killed him. He's from UK in Rafah in Gaza. And the third one, he's from USA. This big killing, and I will shock you now also, when I take you the number of the attacks during 2000 till 7th of October. 9,000 attacks during 23 years. 9,000. We documented each single attack, at what time, where, with whom, and soldier or police or security forces or army. We documented everything, and we have witnesses, and we have pictures, we have videos for each single attack. 9,000. It means from 2000 till 23, daily, 23 years daily, at least 3 attacks. At least. Where it's happened except Israel. So that Israel knows their narrative, propaganda narrative. It is not reality narrative. The propaganda narrative, there is another narrative named Palestinian narrative grew up now. And the Palestinian journalist has the power, has the professionalism, and by the new media, to arrive their narrative to all over the world. In this war, Israel knows very well the abilities of Palestinian journalists, the professionalism of Palestinian journalists, so that from the first day of the war, we publish as Palestinian Journalists Syndicate, PJS, a statement. First day, we said, I remember well, we are warning all the international society and United Nations and all the people all over the world that Israel is planning for big massacre against Palestinian journalists. We are warning, and it's happened. And we are also many times remember that Israel, yesterday I said, this big attack, it is already begun, and in 7th of October, after 2 weeks, on 7th of October 25, they will implement biggest massacre against Palestinian people, against Palestinian journalists. Remember me, all of you, because we are very well can understood their mentality, how they are thinking, and how they are taking the actions and the decisions, and how they are planning and why they are planning. Because we are lived together. We know very well the Israeli occupation, how they are thinking. We have experts 77 years, not 2 years, not 1 year. It is 77 years we are under the occupation, and we know how they are treatment with us and how they are thinking. So that they are targeting the Palestinian journalists to kill the fact, to kill the reality, to kill the justice, and to protect their narrative for the international media. They couldn't, and they're not successful. They are failed. I'm beginning my visiting for all over the world, in everywhere. In the beginning of the war, and I was see. In the beginning of the war, it was black for us. No media can take from us anything. Only the narrative of Israeli army, the statement of BDF. That's it. Now the situation is changed. Change, and it will be changed more and more, because Netanyahu using the propaganda. I will remember you, my friend. The first press conference on 7th of October or 8th of October for Netanyahu. He announced the military war against Palestinian people, and he announced, I will attack Gaza. All of us, we are remember. In that press conference, in the same time, he beginning the propaganda war against Palestinian people, propaganda narrative. He said, he carrying pictures, and he said, Palestinian people killing the children and killing the women and blah, 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 blah. And straight away, CNN took his story. White House published statements. They condemn the Palestinian killing for children and that blah, blah, blah. And then White House and CNN said, we were wrong. We haven't evidence what Netanyahu said, because we attack him very, very straight away with evidence as Palestinian journalists. They're back in their propaganda, but they didn't say after that whom children they are killed. They are Palestinian children. So far, 20,000 children underage killed in Gaza. Those terrorists, those have hostages. Yes, I am against anyone to hostages, anyone in all over the world. This is my opinion. I am not shaming to say that. But we have 2 million in Gaza. They are hostages under the fire in Gaza. Whom talking about them? All the media talking about 20 Israeli hostages. But we have 2 million Palestinians. They are hostages under the fire, under the killing, under the starvation. No media talking about them. They are not hostages. They are hostages. Gaza surrounded by military and attack, and without food, starvation, killing, and they couldn't move. They are hostages. All of them waiting at what time they will kill. I am with release the Israeli hostages, but also I am defend on my people, on my colleagues, on my our journalists. They are hostages also. 1,500 Palestinian journalists, they are hostages in Gaza, under the fire, under the killing, under the starvation. Thank you, brother.
Mr. Abu Bakr opened a crucial question of narrative, of terminology, of context, of interpretation of reality. Before we move on to this question, Boštjan, could you maybe explain your experiences, personal experiences of working under occupation?
I think my experiences are completely irrelevant. You know, we should only listen and talk to the Palestinian journalists now. Completely irrelevant. I would just like to add one thing. There are a lot of complaints, of course, there is a reason for that, that us foreign journalists are not allowed to go to Gaza. True, it's unacceptable, of course, we know everything about it. But there is a kind of, I don't want to say a positive story, or a positive shift to the story here. What has happened in the last 2 years, it's the end of the era of the foreign correspondent. It's done. It's the end of the era of so-called war reporter, because only local correspondents really count. What we have seen is in Gaza in the last 2 years, it's an absolute proof that you don't need us parachuters in the foreign land with the neo-colonial, semi-imperial, self-loving, even masturbating journalists coming in and telling what we see. We don't need that anymore. And Gaza is the biggest and the ultimate proof of that. I think the rules have changed. The profession, of course, has changed a lot. The language has changed. And what we know and what we see now is that only living the experience itself, with all the senses, with all what we are and who we are, really count. So the edge of, how to say, so-called objectivism or reporting from so-called fuck it distance does not exist anymore. And that's good news. Because you can only tell the story if you live it. And this is what we see in Gaza. The price for that, of course, it's the ultimate price, but I think that that demands a lot of self-reflection in our profession, that writing from afar and having this moral super ground, high ground, it's actually a crime against our own profession. And we have a lot to learn, and we have a lot of teachers, new teachers, who can give us these lessons. I mean, again, homage to all the fallen comrades. I think that this should not be a funeral, but the funerals are ongoing. We are losing our comrades, friends, colleagues every day, and it's nearly impossible here and now to talk about the future. So every emotion present, or every person present, should know that in front of our eyes, our colleagues are being not killed, butchered, slaughtered on a daily basis. So
talking about self-reflection, for years and decades, it seems that the public understanding of the question of Palestine, especially the roots and the causes of this question, were not comprehensive enough, despite having continuous daily media reports, despite having correspondence in the field, despite all the analysis. So a question specifically for you two, Erwin and Boštjan, in what ways have the media failed for all those years to explain not just the reality of the occupation, but the historical context that is needed to understand the current reality?
The media haven't failed to explain anything. I mean, you know, if it was like this, it would be okay. I mean, if people could say, well, we didn't know because the journalists did a sloppy job or whatever, that's simply not true. Journalists did a damn good job all the time. I mean, and you know, if you want sort of not just the local journalists always do a good job. But you had Robert Fisk. I mean, if you didn't understand the situation from reading Robert Fisk, you were an analphabet. He was an extremely unpleasant journalist. You didn't want to meet him. I mean, you know, he was vicious in his remarks about everything, but he was the best around. I mean, even, you know, John Kiffner. I mean, sort of Fisk worked for the Independent, a freakish British newspaper. John Kiffner was the New York Times. I mean, and he was the best around. I mean, these are people who, I mean, you know, you wouldn't have heard of Sheikh Yassin if they didn't interview him. You wouldn't know who Abdelaziz Rantisi was. So everything was narrated, explained at length. Besides propaganda that was fed by the Israeli machine through the GPO, it's called the Government Press Office, which is a fantastic machine. I mean, sort of, you had journalists from Europe, from the States, that was spoon-fed information every morning. You know, when faxes were around, we received faxes and then emails. Before that, you received by post the official version of the story. And of course, you had a lot of journalists that just picked the official version of the story and published it. But you had a lot of journalists that just took everything, threw it away, and went to check on their own. And you know, Riccardo Cristiano of RAI, the most mainstream media in the world, Radio Televisione Italiana, was, I mean, he was, in 2 days he had to leave the country because he published something that the Israelis didn't like. I mean, but he was not the only one. So this idea that, what is happening in Palestine? I mean, that it's a surprise. No, you didn't read the newspaper. What were you doing, you know, for the past 80 years? You know, sort of it's, and if you don't trust journalism, which, you know, sort of, okay, not even I trust journalists, but go to the archives of the United Nations. from 48 till today. So you have a radio room at the headquarters in Jerusalem, up on the hill. You go there, every incident in the West Bank and Gaza and Israel is recorded. It's not that you have to sort of have divine inspiration to understand what goes on. You just have to know how to read. So, I mean, so I agree with Bushtian, we are a desperate profession. We always were, but you cannot blame journalism for not having told the story. And we tell the story together with local journalists everywhere, not just Gaza, but also Afghanistan, Iraq. We did it in Bosnia. In Bosnia, I was a local journalist in a foreign land. I mean, so it's not that the story isn't told. You are telling it against a fantastic propaganda machine that is working against you.
But aren't the media themselves unwillingly maybe part of that propaganda?
By the way, there is Naser here, his mainstream media, his AFP, I mean, Agence France Presse. I mean, he's not, he doesn't work for a little newspaper that's printed by hand. He works for one of the greatest agencies in the world, and he does a decent job. I mean, it's not he doesn't explain the situation through the agent. He does. The problem is that you are working against a really monumental propaganda machine. So this, I get nervous when journalists blame themselves. Oh, we know nothing. The hell we don't.
But
so, I mean, don't insult our guest. I mean, he is one of the best journalists around. And he explains the situation very well.
I understand your point, but there are countless examples where we should blame ourselves. One very simple example is, for example, the 7th of October attack. The media, at least in Slovenia, did not point out, at least the mainstream media, that the attack happened from the occupied territory. This is just one simple context that was missing. It seemed like the attackers came from another country. And without understanding that Gaza is occupied by Israel from 1967, it is impossible to understand 7th of October. One of just little circumstances, one of many. So I think...
Just one remark and then I will shut up. Listen, on the 7th of October, go and read what Gideon Levy of Haaretz, an Israeli newspaper, wrote. It's not that, on top of everything, you have Israeli journalists that write about the fate of the Palestinians. You had Amira Haas, beside Gideon Levy, and others. So it's, and it's not true that in Slovenian newspapers nobody mentioned that the attack came from the occupied territories. I did. And so he did also. I mean, don't generalize the idiocy of reporting against intelligent reporting. There is a lot of intelligent, honest reporting. The problem is, yes, that distorted news, open lies, and whatever nonsense is produced by a huge amount of small and large propaganda environments is dominant. But that doesn't mean that journalism isn't doing its job. Even your own house, the TV Ljubljana is doing a pretty decent job besides everything that feeds us, but in terms of journalism, yeah, okay. It's not that you are doing a decrepit job. I mean, quite the contrary.
Please.
If an event like that would happen in Munich or London, we would all be detained and even beaten, I suppose. And that's another point that okay, we were discussing before, and I think that Slovenia is one of the last or the rarest spaces of free speech in Europe or in the world. And it comes to me as a huge surprise considering the history, but we should appreciate that. And the way how the Palestinian cause is presented here, it's globally unique. I mean, if you have, for example, similar countries with similar views on Palestine, Ireland, Norway, and Spain, for example, they have all different historical context and their own reasons. We know why is it like that in Ireland and Spain. What is our, how to say, strategic value? What is our, I don't know, political background or ideological background to use in understanding how we treat the Palestinian issue? We should think about it. And if you're talking about the Slovenian mainstream media, I think it's 8 out of 10, which is absolutely telling the story in the way the Palestinian journalists from Gaza are telling it. It's the story of survival. It's the story of direct contacts. And all of us have direct contacts with people on the ground non-fucking stop, you know? And yes, honestly speaking, in the way that in objective journalism is treated in the Anglo-Saxon media or in the academia, we are doing opposite of that. We're only more or less talking to one side now. We're only talking to the Palestinians. We're talking to the victims, and it's a decision, not only a necessity. And I don't see any other space, public space in Europe or in the Western world. Forget the other part of it, that something like this exists, and we should respect that. I mean, this is. I mean, as a citizen of this place, I really feel proud.
I was trying to refer to the Western media in general, not just Slovenian media, and obviously there are differences in coverage. When we talk about this, how the media talks about the question of Palestine, it seems clear that there is an alignment with the establishment position from country to country. I mean, the war in Ukraine and the war in Palestine offers a very transparent contrast, a very drastic contrast. What does this alignment say about the autonomy, the independence, the impartiality of the media in the West that we keep hearing about?
I mean, every journalist can only talk about his own integrity, I would say. And I have huge problem with underestimating the tragedy in Ukraine in this context, you know, because it always, it comes to generalization, it comes to the statistics, and we are using the statistics, and we are always undermining the human suffering. Yes, there is a lot of hypocrisy, there is a lot of it's not consistent what is happening. We see what is going on in Brussels. Mostly we see what is going on in Berlin. I think the country which has more or less every time been on the wrong side of the history, it's on the wrong side of the history again, not because of this guilt, but because of the historical exclusivity. And I think all eyes should be on Germany now, much more than any other country in the world. I think this is the key for what is going to happen in the next couple of years or decades. And yes, there is a lot of bullshit going on also in media. Yes, there are a lot of alignments and how to say cohesions between different power makers and power brokers. But do not forget that it always comes with a price, and I don't know how Naser feels about it. I mean, how our Palestinian friends feel about it. But always when I talk with my colleagues in Gaza, they're not angry. We are more angry when we read German or American newspapers, because for them it's about survival. We have this comfort zone privilege of being morally outraged. When you are out there and you are fighting for your own survival, there is no space or place for moral outrage. Moral outrage is such a privilege, really.
I'm told I have time for one more question, and then we'll open the floor to the audience, so you can ask. Please.
Okay. First of all, I think that this issue is like about everything in media, in European media outlets mostly we can follow like captured media, and this connection is not just about this topic. Another thing what I slightly will disagree with you, with of course full respect of local journalists. I'm a local journalist. I was local journalist in our wars. I think that demands for foreign journalists to report from Gaza, it's very important still. Not because we don't trust to local journalists, but I want to read your point of view. I want to read your reports and comments, and I think that this cooperation and demand, and we will still, and we demand from Israel government to let foreign journalists report from Gaza. I think that it's very important, not because of objectivity, but because of working together, because of I want to read and see the stories of foreign journalists, colleague mentioned, and finally all of you. So I think that we still have to stand by this demand to let Israel government,
I will add something also. Israel forbidden 4,320 journalists from the international to enter Gaza. Why? Because they don't want witnesses from the international to say the same thing. The international society saw it and read it from Palestinian local journalists. I agree. If Israel allow for 20 journalists only from all the world, but they will not allow. If they allow, they will put them in the tanks and give them their narrative, their story. That's it, without talking with any Palestinian. So that Israel very sensitive to see an international journalist enter Gaza. They forbidden 4,000. I agree to enter only 20. 10 to enter and move all around Gaza. They will not allow because they don't want the fact. They want to kill the witnesses, the Palestinian witnesses. They want to bring, in the same time, witnesses from the international. It's impossible. So that they forbidden them. Thank you.
Yes, as we all said, we owe our understanding of the genocide primarily, obviously, to Palestinian journalists in Gaza, but I'm sure we have to also acknowledge the importance of social media in all this, without which I suppose we wouldn't be able to see the mere extent of the horror that Israel is imposing on the people of Gaza. How do you all see the role, the power maybe of social media, specifically during this genocide? Yeah.
No, maybe it's better for you to, you know the influence of social media. You know the influence of social media. Of course, it's also as for other, but now we will go deeper in a debate about journalism and the social media. I think that the Palestinian journalists try to find a way to use influence of social media, but I really think that it's better for Naser to answer on this question.
Yes, social media is very important, but the social media in whom sharing the professional journalism, stories and videos, and as journalists, as media outlets, whom sharing, they are more confident than the others. But social media, in the end, it is one of the Palestinian machine, if we can say. It was very important. It distributed our story, our narrative, the situation on the ground. Because Israel also don't want the social media to distribute all the stories. They make agreement. The Justice Minister of Israel make agreement with Facebook X and others to restrict the Palestinian continent, so that they know very well it is affected, and all the people they are watching the social media. We were saying the new media, it is small village. Now the new media, it is in my hand. I can watch everything in my hand. So that the news in Tokyo or in Palestine, you can watch it in the same time, in the same minute, in the same second. It is very important. But there is some problems in social media. As I am professional journalist said, there is some problems that in Palestine it was very important. Also, Israel tried many times to restrict our continent, but they're not successful because the people, they knows the propaganda and they knows the reality when they say show the pictures, the videos, the reports. Any citizen in all over the world can make difference between the propaganda and the professional issue. Thank you.
Do you two maybe have any comments on the importance of social media now?
You know, I've been a journalist for a long time. I'm older than the Pope, a whole year. And in my whole career, I wrote 5 tweets. When Twitter came out, I wrote 5 tweets. And then I was asking myself, you know, wow, what happened to you? You have become an idiot. Your whole life, you have been writing and honestly writing for money. Whatever I write, I want to be paid because it's my job. That's how I make a living. That's why I call myself, I say I work as a journalist. I am not a journalist. My identity is more complicated, but I work as a journalist. And I will not feed my opinion or whatever I do for free to a corporation that is exploiting the whole of humanity as a source of free labor force. I mean, whoever wants to do it, go ahead. So, but I also, when I look, of course, I mean, I look at social media, especially cat videos. If there's a cat video, I watch all of them, but I also watch news. I have a very simple criteria. If whoever is producing the news is pointing the phone at himself, I don't watch it. If he's pointing the phone at anybody else and asking him something, then I'm prepared to watch and judge what they have to say. Selfies are not information. And I think if you're looking at what our problem as a civilization, we all have phones in our pockets somewhere. I mean, sort of, you know, mine is also here, but it's locked up. It's that we judge selfies as sources of information. In journalism, you know, whatever happened to the journalist, it's not part of his job. You know, it doesn't matter if you were wounded, if you suffered, if you cried, whatever. Who cares? You know, sort of, you choose to go there to tell the stories of others. And, you know, sort of, if you look at the Palestinian journalists, they don't tell stories about themselves. You know, who Wael Daghdouh was, you learned when somebody else pointed a camera at him and told that his family, 21 of them, were killed. Daghdouh was the head of the Al Jazeera bureau in Gaza. Before that, you know, who knew Wael? Who knew that he was telling the story of his people? I mean, sort of, and he he worked with impartiality. And here I think it's you know, the core of when you judge what they call media these days. It's a confusion anyway. But what is the criteria? It's impartiality. Right? What does impartiality mean? You know, Here in Eastern Europe, we don't really know what impartiality is. But we got this term from the Anglo-Saxons. And it's very simple. Impartiality doesn't mean that you're neutral. Impartiality means if there's a war, you go and you ask both sides, what are you doing? And at the end, you don't tell your story by they are saying this, they are saying that. I'm an idiot, I cannot judge. No. You put all the unpleasant questions to both sides, and then you decide who is right and who is wrong. And it's your responsibility. You sign the story and you say, this is what happened. I signed the story, it's my responsibility. If I'm wrong, hang me. But otherwise, read and be happy with it. With the social media, this criteria is obfuscated, I think. I mean, if you want to, most of the news that you get through social media, it's repeated and re-elaborated from other sources.
Helena, we have a few more minutes. Okay. If anybody has a question, please, now is the time to shine. Christina. How do you view the language used? For example, the term separation wall instead of apartheid wall, for example, or peace process instead of process of stealing land. How important is the language in reporting, and how can Western journalists show solidarity with all of you?
Thank you for your question. Yes, the words is very important. When you're saying killed Palestinian, it's different that it's war crimes. When you say war crimes, it's different when you're saying genocide. Some outlets, media, couldn't. They haven't the brave to say so far the 250,000 Palestinian wounded and killing, and they are still having the brave to say that it is genocide. What they are want to kill those Palestinian people, to say that it is genocide. Yes, it's very important. The words is very important, and now it's became also international words and recognized from the United Nations that it is genocide. The investigation committee, investigation committee in Geneva. So, anything else you want?
How can the Western journalists show solidarity with Palestinian colleagues?
We want the fact. If they are professional and coverage the situation on the ground in a professional way, it is satisfying for us. But not take only the Israeli narrative, the Israeli statement. We take it, but take also the Palestinian narrative and take the Palestinian videos, Palestinian pictures, stories. And I am very proud of Palestinian people that they are very professional. No one, 2 years, no video from Palestinian journalist or one picture. It was propaganda. But daily, day and night, Israeli media, propaganda, and also incitement against us to kill Palestinian journalists. No Palestinian, we are under killing, and we couldn't say kill Israeli journalists. We will not say it, but daily they are killing, they said, on TV, live, you must be continuous, you're killing for Palestinian journalists. those journalists, and we are not journalists, whom respect the human rights, whom respect the freedom of expression. He is not journalist, whom incitement and daily to kill Palestinian journalists. He is journalist, and the Western media took his narrative, his story. Must be shame a little bit from the others, not from you. I respect all of you. Thank you.
One more question, maybe.
I was wondering about, we heard how many journalists were killed in last 3 years and also in previous years. But I was wondering, what about maybe your personal observation about journalists who are entering this profession in Gaza and also in occupied territories on the West Bank? Are they entering, are they young journalists? Are they people from other professions who now feel obliged to report just the obvious facts? Because we know it's obvious that reporting in Gaza and occupied territories is so dangerous that you get killed for telling the simple facts. What happened?
يعني we are patient and we are brave. We are patient whom can able these situation 77 years under crimes daily, and we are patient because we are know this is our land, this is our rights, and we must stay in it, in our land, and also defend on our land and struggle to take our independence and our freedom. This is, but we have also brave journalists. I'm not wondering because I'm one of them, and I know of all of them. I know Palestinian people, specific the youths, they are very, very brave, but also they have the skills. They have, you couldn't imagine how much they have the skills of the professionalism of media, technician, everything. They are learning it very fast, and they became also specific in Gaza. I'm from West Bank, but more clever there in Gaza because the situation give them the power to do some skills, and they are very professional in Gaza, but the main issue they knows it is Palestine national message and professional message, their job in Gaza. Thank you.
I'm so sorry, we can't take any more questions because our time is up. Thank you for listening, and special thanks to Maja Sever, Naser Abu Bakr, Boštjan Videmšek, and Ervin Hladnik Milhrašić.